No, it's all good. It's all good. That's how it started, anyways. But no, I was gonna say, I think the way I like to have this conversation in general is how we had it just before coming into here. I think there was a lot of stories, there was a lot of perspectives on different philosophical things and views and stuff, and I think that's a beautiful thing. But just to start with, I think I like to explore. So one of the things we like to do to connect the audience with the guest that comes on the show is we like to ask, like, what's the one thing that people should know about you, and how do you get a feeling of importance? But we can break that down into these two segments.
First of all, my name is Kamaljit Sharma.
Mm.
I'm just an ordinary guy coming here just to express my opinion on certain things. But also, the reason why I'm here really is to give something back to the community in terms of my experience, how they can help and develop other people, but also how not to do things, because I've made cock-ups as well. So if we can help in any way, that's where I'm coming from.
Cool. And how do you get a feeling of importance?
This is another problem with me and my father. We never felt that important because we didn't want that limelight. We just want to be ordinary people, but helpful, rather than, feeling important. There's no ego. It was deflated a long time ago.
Yeah, but that's interesting because I feel like, so for me as well, like the whole like helping people like makes me feel important, and I think sometimes there's a negative connection to what important means. I think it's very ego.
Don't get me wrong, I feel good, but I don't feel important. Important is an overused word. If you feel good, you've done somebody a good deed, they'll feel better. There's no need for this importance, ego trip. There's no need for that. Just be level ground and enjoy each other's company. Importance, not important, it's just a word.
Yeah. But is it possible to disconnect important from the whole like egocentric sort of way of looking at it? Because something can still be important, because you can go, life is important to me, and life is not ego-centered.
I think it depends on who you resonate with, how they take it. I mean, I can go, it's important, isn't it? It's how they take it. If they feel it's important, let them have their say. Why are you forcing it upon them? Again, that's my dad's philosophy,
Yeah.
It's not about you, it's about them. And how you interact and how you take from each other. You might take something good from him. You might take something bad from you. But, it's an exchange of ideas, of humility, just basics, of human interaction.
That's interesting. So when I meet people that I want to learn from, or when I sit down with wise people, one of the questions I like to ask.
Okay, can I just stop you there? When I was growing up, I said the same thing. I said, Dad, this guy came and he's really good, and he goes, how do you know he's good? Because I said, he's your mate. He goes, that doesn't make him good, does it? I said, what do you mean? He goes, that guy came. He goes, he's not a good man, and we had an argument. I said, why? He said, I can't tell you that, but don't judge people just because I know them and I've been hanging around. Doesn't mean they're good people, but I might learn something from them. They might learn something. We had a good friendship, but now it's not good anymore. So stop, saying things that you don't know about. And again, knowing is the enemy of learning. So each time you have an experience, it's how your aura, how you feel at that time. I mean, you might have had the same audience. You feel different every day, but it's up to you to make that experience good or bad. You might learn something from a bad person. He's not wise, but you've gained wisdom by his stupidity. So what I'm saying, be open. And that's what I've learned in life, not to be that judgmental, especially in the last 7-8 years where I've been subliminally coached. And now it's coming to fruition now, because I'm realizing my actions are actually perceived to be changing where I am rather than the other way around. So I'm actually changing things the way I want them. I'm creating things the way I want them because I'm empowered. I don't have to, you got to go to him for this. But you can go to who you want. It's up to you. You make that creation, you live into it rather than the other way around. It's over there, the creation's over there, let's go over there. No, you can create it here. But it's with the friends, with the thoughts, with the love, with the affection, with the community. It's for you to facilitate that. And don't go into, like following leadership. Leadership, in my dad's opinion, but we had a disagreement with that. He said leadership is for weak people. I said, no, Dad, but now looking back on it.
Well, what does that mean?
For him, he didn't like to lead. He liked to make people autonomous. He didn't want to be served as a guru or this or that. He wanted to empower them to make their own decisions, make their own environment, also live and learn.
Isn't that like a catch-22? Because that kind of is leadership. Like
But he didn't want to use that word. He's making somebody autonomous, so they're not constantly looking at you. They're developing within.
But that's the thing. People that become autonomous,
It's dynamic
and
rather
when
than
they learn that from another person, or the person supports them or gives them the platform to become that, people then usually still tend to look up to that person.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're not constantly doing that because they're evolving themselves. They're looking beyond those boundaries and becoming something else. And I remember when I was growing up, my dad would say, "Oh, you know, when you have," I'm translating because he didn't talk like this, but when you have intellectual and financial freedom, you'll be free. And I'm a 17-year-old kid. Oh, what the hell is he talking about? But fortunately, at 19, I had intellectual and financial freedom because I left home and I was studying. So I had to work and study, but I was intellectually and financially independent.
So I get financial freedom. What's intellectual freedom?
Where basically you can make your own decisions without the hindrance of the family or other people. You can think it through yourself.
There's so I don't know if you heard of a guy called Gary Vee. Interesting guy. There's a lot of like business coaching and stuff.
I don't.
But one of the things it talks about parenting, and it talks about what do parents have over the kids to make them do certain particular things, and it talks about psychological warfare. And he goes, if someone is 18 or 19 or 20 and they feel like the parents are forcing them to do particular things, he goes, actually, if they go make their own money, they have their own place, or they take away everything that the parents offer, then the parents can't have that any longer.
In effect, that's what happened to me because that umbilical cord of the family was cut at the age of 18, 19 because I was away from them for a long time. So what happened was I wasn't relying or reflecting on what they would do. I was actually making my own decisions with the people I was surrounded, but those people were different to where I was 2 months ago in the family and entrenched in their stuff. So here I was talking to different people who had completely different views, and I was different personalities and nationalities. And it really infused me to think, hold on, there's a different world out there. There's different thinking. And that's when I evolved, I think, looking back. And obviously with my sons, the same thing is happening. And more with my wife now, when I go away, she's now with different people, in different environments. And she's growing as a person. So anybody can do it. But it's up to you. But it's quite painful to come out. I would say in a real technical term, when it happened to me, I was on the outside looking into my life because I was away from the family. Before I was on the inside looking in, it's harder to reflect on yourself. So when you do that, it's quite a light bulb moment because I was asleep and I got up. I said, I'm on the outside. I'm looking at my family and I'm thinking about that, but I'm not interacting because I'm on the outside looking in. And there's bad points, good points. But I really missed my dad and my dad missed me. But we had to cut that because we have to have new experiences. And also, this is where you will grow. You sink or you swim. I did feel bad. I was looking after my dad and then suddenly there's nothing. But then I thought, hold on, he's got other members in the family. They can do the same thing. But they can't do the same thing, but similar things. But my dad did feel it in the first 4 weeks. I remember him, I was speaking to my sister. She goes, he's really upset. You've left home. I said, I'm only going to study. I haven't left home. What is it with you lot? So I rang him up and he goes, what's the problem? I said, you're upset and all this. He goes, no, I'm not. I said, you are. I said, it's all right. It's not a problem. But I said, I can do this. He goes, what? I said, I can drop my studies and come home and let's forget about it. I'll look after you. He goes, no. So I put the guilt trip on him because in the end he had to let go. But he was upset because father and we had a good relationship. Yeah. But you have to sometime sacrifice some good things, experience some bad things to become a better person. That's what happened to me.
That's almost like an essential thing in life. And I've realized sometimes there's the whole thing of like people want to be successful without failing. And it's impossible. I personally think it's impossible.
Going back to my dad made sure that I cocked up. But he also, we were just talking about this in the office yesterday. We're talking about somebody bought a house and the son was so happy because it coincided with his 11 plus. So they bought the house and he passed the 11 plus and they had a big celebration. And I reflecting back, I said, when I sold my first house, as in say, my dad made me my favorite dish. It was a similar celebration, but it was a bit of notoriety that I've achieved something, but also an encouragement in a nice way. You don't have to have the big shebang and all this. Just, let your dad, you have a conversation. Well done, son, pat on the back. But he didn't do it publicly because we discussed this before.
Yeah.
It's just the way they were,
And that's the thing. And I think what's really beautiful sometimes, and so I've kind of I think there's two ways of learning in life, right? There's a way of learning, like, how do you want to be? As in, like, we look at another person and we look at the way they're being and how we want to become as more of that person. But I think there's the other one that people don't usually talk about, which is like, what is that if you don't want to be? Like sometimes looking at parents or other people and saying, actually, there's this thing that they do or they don't do that I don't want to do. And I think sometimes it's kind of like a very like counterintuitive way of becoming something else by deciding what is it that we don't want to become.
This is a very subjective, by the way, because I grew up in a big family. I'm one of 9 children. So you can imagine I had quite a few personalities revolving around me. So you can't just say, I want to be this one. It's in the circumstance you're in. I mean, you might be living in a 7th floor flat, 2 bedrooms with 4 children. That I might be living next door with 2 children. So you evolve in a different way. So I think it's circumstantial rather than you picking and choosing. Sometimes it's imposed on you and you have to filter it through because the household is so much going on.
I get it, but then I think that's more from a perspective of being a child.
Even an adult. You're always influenced by your surrounding. So me going out of my comfort zone and studying and working and doing all those things, it made me reflect on could I do it? I'm in the deep end now. And if I didn't do it, I'd be like the laughing stock of my family. So you grow into it. It's like I don't know how to describe it. When you're back against the wall, you either sink or swim. Now, if you swim, it's like a black hole. It consumes you. Things start happening that you never thought because you're out your comfort zone and you're doing things, but they keep happening progressively. But it can go the other way. If you don't cope, then you can go down, down, down and consume the other way. So there's 2 black holes, either the positive one or the negative one, or you can just stay mediocre. So I think if you're not out of your comfort zone, you haven't experienced that eclipse of going left or right, then you haven't lived. My dad always said, if you haven't been out of your comfort zone, you haven't lived. And for years, I was in a comfort zone because I had my family and all that. But really the abrupt thing came when I lost my mum at a very young age. But there's a good side to it and there's a bad side to it. The bad side was I didn't really develop my mother tongue, my culture, because mother gives you that. But on the other hand, my dad couldn't keep an eye on me because he was working 3 jobs. I evolved organically in the sense that I did things according to my limited experience, but it was bold and it was brash because I was dealing with so many personalities and nationalities at the time. So I was talking about the Afro-Caribbean influence on me is the soul music. When I used to go around Joseph's house, there would be Donny Hathaway, and we played it today. Again, it depends the circumstance and also how you take it. And I was fortunate I had these people around me who gave me a different perspective rather than the Asian study, don't do this, don't do that. It was always, and I was talking to Joseph just yesterday, and he goes, "Do you remember that time?" I said, "Well, when you said being Asian is a liability." And I look back, I'll go, "Bloody, did I say that?"
That's crazy, yeah.
You know why that was? Because everything I did was objected to. I wanted to go and play football. No, you can't. I wanted to go, to a concert. You can't. I can't. I mean, because I wanted to newspaper around. Oh, deemed too downgrading for the family. I wanted to earn some money.
By the way, in no like judgmental way or anything like that, I wanted to ask you what you think about a particular thing. But so I work with young people directly and indirectly, and one of the common things I've seen along like Asian young people that I work with, a lot of the times they've got the pressures from their families and this is really interesting. Is this tradition? So not traditional, but this sort of like stereotypical thing of like you want them to become doctors or I don't know what else is there, doctors, lawyers and things like that. I found that really fascinating all the time.
I think thank God it's changing now. I think in a way, I mean, I was brought up similar way, but because my mum wasn't there I didn't have the pressure of the dual parents.
Mm.
So I was really a single parent child. And my dad was hardly there because he was 3-4 jobs, shift work. So I grew up my own organic way. But like other children in my era, in my peers, they were forced into doing things they didn't want to, but they had to do that to keep their parents quiet.
Mm.
And they say, oh, there's a lot of noise at home. And I didn't get it. That was a code word for the parents, yapping on, do this, do that. So it wasn't just me hearing it. It was happening all around me. But I think you can't blame them because they were the first immigrants here, the first generation. And they didn't know any better. All they knew that if you studied, you get a good job, you'll be stable, and you don't have to do these stupid, silly jobs like, working in a rubber factory, consuming all the, the fumes, working in a bakery. My dad did that. Working for Black & Decker on the buses, transport. I mean, he did everything to make ends meet. They didn't want us to have that. So you can't blame them. And they were only doing the best they can. So again, it's circumstantial. I don't think they meant bad, but now we're in the third generation. I can't impose that on my children. I mean, look at Sachin, he won't take any of that. Do his own bloody thing.
He's not having it.
No.
Yeah,
but I think it's good in a way. You can only say so much, and they will only take in so much. But all I give them is the basics. We tried to say, have a good education. The rest is up to you.
Yeah.
And you find your own
way. So the kids that kind of like find it most commonly in is the first generation. So the kids that
first and second.
Yeah, first. Well, mainly first. Second slightly different, but it's. I have this like interesting conversation, like what you doing at the moment, like what you trying to become. They'd be like, I want to be a lawyer. And like, what do you really want to do? And they'd be like, I want to be a boxer. So it's like it's completely opposite of what they actually getting into.
I think it's good to have those aspirations because you can't just have one uniform goal. You can splinter it off. I've got a combination of goals now. Being older, I want to do so many things. It's a good thing, and you don't have to be top-notch successful. You can have a modest living, but like at the age of 40, I remember my friend Michael being rude to me. He said, "Oh, the Asians are the same. You just live to work." And I couldn't sleep that night. What the hell is he on about? So I confronted him the next day. I said, "What's this nonsense?" He goes, "Yeah, you Asians are the same." He goes, "You're materialistic. All you want to do is accumulate and then leave it to the kids to enjoy." I said, "No, I don't." He goes, "Then why are you working bloody 7 days? And why have you got, this car and multiple properties?" And then I paused and I thought, and he goes, "And also, you're going to end up the richest man in the grave." And he slammed the door and went. I got even more annoyed. I said, "This guy is bloody slapping me in the face again." So anyway, 2 days later, because I play football with him, I went early and I said, "You insulted me again?" He goes, "Yeah, I did." He goes, "I'm proud of it." I said, "Why?" He goes, "I want to wake you up. I want you to, you're living to work. I want you to work to live." I said, "What do you mean?" Then he showed me. He goes, "Look, this is what I do." I played football with him. He goes, I do a bit of charity work. I help this charity, I help that charity. But also, I'm playing tennis. And also, I go to the art galleries with my wife. I said, "But how did you develop that interest?" He goes, "This is it. You open your mind up. I'm not constantly bloody at work 7 days. I've got time. And the sooner you learn that, the better your life will be." So it's really hard mindset for me to change at 40. But I did it. But then I had the abuse from the family saying, "Oh, he's not working weekends. And what the hell's up with him? That can't be Asian."
Yeah, because they've had a certain image made up.
But then I did something even more drastic. I sold the Mercedes and bought a small car and went on more holidays because I reduced the insurance, the running cost, the fuel. I mean, it plummeted the cost and the insurance.
And you still got A to B.
Yeah, no, A to B is one thing, but I had surplus money disposable. I was having holidays.
Yeah. But that's the point I'm trying to make. It's like the car still got you to where you needed to get to, and you save more money. And
but then my brother said I lost my status. I said I never thought I had one. What is a status?
Yeah,
it's just a label. I don't want to be labeled.
Well, that's the thing. It shows a lot. I think it says more about other people in terms of what they value rather than who we are sometimes.
I think the biggest problem, like we discussed earlier, is the economy. The economy is product driven. We're surrounded by products and they're driven into our bloody heads. And we have to avoid them as much as we're going to have to put this filter up. Those things, those labels don't matter, but it's really hard because if you don't go with the flow, you're in a problem.
Actually, no. Can we get into that? So
Like philosophy.
no, like people-driven economy.
There is a philosophy by that.
There is.
What was his name? Confucius.
Oh yeah, I know about Confucius. He's got this really powerful quote. It says that a man has two lives. You know that one?
No.
You know that one? It says a man has two lives, and it says the second one starts when he realizes that he's got one life.
Wow.
Yeah. Very
Well, the
powerful
Confucius philosophy that I know, he said, life's like a river. So you flow down. He goes, people who cling onto the banks are the ones missing out the flow of life. So, natural organic flow. You live and you learn it. But if you hang on to your values and you don't go with your natural flow, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So that's become you're hanging on to status, cars, this, that, and your money. He goes, if you let that go, let your body flow, then you'll live a better life. So again, it depends on how you want to take philosophy. I mean, I love philosophy because for me, it's so profound. I mean, like Sachin was saying, like knowing is the enemy of learning, but that comes from Socrates. I who knows something knows nothing.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. But I like that because it opens your eyes. Because if you're limited in one direction and you're not willing to open up the spectrum of what could happen, possibilities, then you're missing out. You're missing out on life. You're missing out enlightenment. You're missing out philosophy. You're missing out friendship. We can keep on going on and on. It's infinite.
Yeah, but that's what the degrees end, and it ended Doctor of Philosophy.
Oh right.
Yeah, it's a full circle. We start with life, it's people kind of like have elements of philosophy. They go into college or then university, and then they end up, that's what doctor's degree is. So,
but I think
PhD stands for Doctor of Philosophy.
I remember a long time ago, I moved into the area, and I had a bit of an altercation. My wife hated this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. We were invited to somebody's house, and he knew my wife, and they were this like same. Can't remember. They got the same surname, so they bonded, and we went round there, and there's this guy. He's just annoying. He's an Oxford graduate. He kept saying, "I'm an Oxford graduate," and some people moving around, spoiling the area with their traditional, costumes and all that. They're bringing the area down. And listen to it. And then about an hour later, I come back. He's still saying the same. So indirectly, he was taking a pop at our community. They're wearing their traditional and they're bringing the area down. So I went up to him. I said, "Why are you saying that? You're an Asian yourself." "Oh yeah, but I'm now well cultured and I'm an Oxford graduate. And, I've evolved." I said, "You haven't. You've evolved into an idiot." And he goes, "How dare you? I'm more academic, this and that." I said, "Are you more academic?" I said, "You may be more academic, but you're not more intelligent than me." He goes, "Challenge me then." I said, "All right, I'll challenge you." I said, "You're from Oxford, yeah?" I said, "I'm from Southall." He said, "Yeah." I said, "You live 1 week in Southall with no money. I'll live 1 week in Oxford with no money. Let's see who survives." "I ain't doing that. That's not intellectual. That's not academic." I said, "It is. It's intellectual and academic, and it'll find out whether you can sink or swim or get lost." And he ran off. And then after that, people started clapping. But my wife had already stamped me with her heel on my foot, saying I spoiled it for everybody. But I didn't. I had to stand up to this idiot.
Yeah.
Because of the
you're
perception.
You're actually serving this idiot. So
yeah,
like,
but the thing is, he didn't think that. I mean, I've been shunned by...
Of course it doesn't. He might not think that there and then. He might actually think about it 6 months later and go,
No,
what,
he didn't.
actually...
I met him afterwards.
Oh, he didn't change? Didn't change
Still
at all?
a prat.
Was he still saying he's from Oxford?
But, it's. I think that's his problem. It's not mine. It's not the monkey. Monkey's off my back. It's on his back. I'm not going to, deliberate and try to put him right.
Well, we tried helping him. So like
but I wasn't. I was defending my own culture myself.
Yeah, 100%.
I ain't going to take any more
But
insults.
at the same time, it's like you gave him an opportunity to learn. Whether he took it or not, that's a whole different conversation.
Well, the saving grace of the host. Afterwards, he phoned me up and he goes, "Thank you very much." I said, "Why?" He goes, "I've been meaning to say that for 12 years." So he that guy who came, the Oxford graduate, his wife was friends with his wife who was hosting.
Wow.
But that was annoying. But the thing is, my wife thought I was causing trouble. And again, it's a mindset. She's like, wants to be conformative, wants to do the right thing. I mean, doing the right thing is standing up to this idiot.
I don't really get I think this is an interesting conversation to have as well, but I don't really get the status thing in life. Like, I don't really understand the whole concept of status. If someone has particular, set of
Okay,
money,
look,
or maybe they're
in-
dating someone, or
This is all I can say. In Asian community, you're looked upon if you got a business, you got a nice house, you got a nice car, you got private education, you got loads of money.
I get it, but what does it
you
mean?
might not even have a sense of humility or sense of humor
Yeah.
or nothing. But you're looked upon like some god.
But what does it mean? What is why do we give people a status? Like
because
what?
we are in a product-driven society.
Mm.
That's the problem. It keeps circling me like a vulture.
But that's the issue. So I think the issue is with the people that are providing a person with a status. I think if people were strong enough or had a different mindset or a different outlook to go, you know what? I don't care who that person is or what car they drive or what.
But the
business
majority,
is
I'm sorry, the majority judge you on that. That's the problem.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
And that's societal, and that's the economy we're living in. The economy is not autonomy. It's not based on autonomy. It's based on products and what they can sell you and what they want you to do with you. And they don't give a damn about you. They can be selling you a cream which is detrimental to you. They're selling it. They don't give a damn. So again, it comes back to the product. I mean, I used to argue with my dad. My dad said, you're not ripping that kitchen out because it's Formica. I said, Dad, it's hideous. It's orange. Anyway, we compromised because we wanted a new kitchen. This is in the 70s. So we took that kitchen and put it in the garage. Lo and behold, I went to see that property because we still know the new owners. It's still there after 40 odd years, and they've gone through 3 kitchens.
Wow.
So the thing was made out of Formica, which you can't bloody break.
Mm.
So why? But it's that product thing. You're only making something. Your washing machine, you only make it for 5 years, 10 years, and that's it.
Yeah.
Then you have to get a new one. But why don't they build a one for 20 years, 30 years? Because it's not economical. It doesn't serve that. But the thing is, you could be saving the earth. They don't give a damn. It's a philosophy. It's a mindset we have to change.
Yeah.
Where we put the earth and the people first, not the products and the few shareholders.
Yeah.
Their interests. That's what we're working for. The whole education is flawed because it's only meant for the elite. We're not benefiting greatly, are we?
No,
we're comfortable. But if it was based on the majority of people, good health, schools, education, philosophy, and all this would be open. But it's not. Why isn't it? Because it's elitist. It's driven for serving the purpose of the privileged few.
Yeah.
That's in my opinion. But if somebody wants to argue, I'm willing to listen to that.
No, I see that all the time. And there's this whole there is this big conversation around, they say people that are rich, or let's say like billionaires or people that have monopolies, sort of say. There is the whole conversation around they're not actually robbing people, but actually there's this interesting thing around how things are structured. If you look at advertising, if you look at different systems of how people get into businesses and stuff, clearly it's structured in a particular type of way where some people will benefit more than others. At least that's what it seems like. I could be wrong, but
I remember, I think it was just a couple of years ago, there was a big development where I am. And I didn't agree with one of the mortgage statements they put out, which was help to buy. But I didn't believe in that philosophy. So they said, oh, you're going to have to sell these products alongside the flats. I said, but I don't believe in that philosophy, help to buy, because basically long term it's not good for the person who's buying it. It's not good, in my opinion. So I'm not going to say. They said then you lost the instructions, so I did. But I made a moral decision there. The agent came on, took them on, fine. Yeah. But where do you stop?
That's the thing. Someone else will do it. There is that element of if one person doesn't do it, someone else will.
So I'm just trying to get back to. It's the way society is driven. It's very selfish, very self-centered. It doesn't give two hoots about the holistic approach. And that's where I struggle. That's why I want to give more back to the community, because community's giving me loads, like I said about my dad. When I told you that story, but it's giving back to the people who put you where you are. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
But I think it's not the core. You've got CEOs who got no morals. Let's just take Prime and Amazon, for example. Why aren't they paying tax? We're equals, aren't we? We got equal status. We're humans. We breathe, but they are. Why aren't they paying tax? Because they're elitist, and they think they're beyond the system because the governments have allowed them. Yeah. Now, if at the inception they said, Amazon, you can't do this, you can't come into our country, and somebody else did the same thing, we're collective, but we allowed them because they've corrupted their way through.
Yeah.
So similar thing. If you allow that, it infuses the whole. Now it's a lottery. Remember earlier, Ladin, we were talking about those two signs, what they mean, and Sachin translated them. But if I translate them in public, I'll be bloody shot.
Tobacco and lottery, which is cancer
And desperation.
and desperation. Yeah.
But you could put the thing on and say you could translate it yourself. But does it mean anything? You can be shouting to the rooftops.
The desperation thing, I think the lottery thing can also be seen as someone selling hope. You know, someone's got hope of like, I might win this lottery.
Yeah, but winning the lottery doesn't make you a better person.
I know, but that's the interesting thing. Winning a lottery doesn't make someone even richer anyways. They might go broke, and they probably will go broke if they don't know what to do with that money.
You know, this is what Sachin has told me. Money is just a concept. If you give that concept some weight, it will carry it. If you deload that concept and put nothing on it, it can be just balloon. It can fly away. So it's up to you how you treat that concept. It's only a concept. In real life, you can do what you fucking like.
Yeah.
So why give it that weight?
100%. So I was having a conversation with Sachin yesterday, and I was saying, I realized through that conversation, I said, actually, I've just given money a different definition, which is around how much money someone's got, which just basically shows how much access to services they've got, to services or, you know, like resources. But that's all it is. It's access
I think
to
also,
something.
like my dad used to say, not many people can handle money. Money normally handles them.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, look at so-and-so. He gave me a name. And he goes, see him? I said, yeah. He goes, can you see his personality? I said, what do you mean? He's always talking about things he's got. I got this, I got that. But what he hasn't got is humanity. He hasn't got a soft touch. He's ignorant. He doesn't see two sides of the story. He's rude, bigger, misogynist. I mean, he can go on. He goes, but he's got money. But he's missed out on a lot of things because money has infused him and taken over and it's become his personality. That's what he was trying to teach us very early on, that money is limited to what it can do for you, but it's unlimited how it can destroy you. So this concept, well, money is everything. It's not. It's how, I can go outside and play football. It costs me nothing, but I'm happy. I can play tennis. It costs me a few quid. I haven't been to a concert, but I still feel happy. So it's up to you to turn your joys, your ambitions into what they are, in what you believe rather than what society believes. Because I think I'm a brilliant football player, but my colleagues think I'm crap. But it's fine because we have banter. We try, we go again. It's up to you to make it jovial, to make it a bit of banter. I could say, oh, I don't like that. I'm leaving the club.
Yeah.
I'll be an idiot. I know challenge, no nothing. But again, it comes to you. But in some circumstances where people are trapped, I think it's mainly in big communities. But also, I think we're coming back to this now. I think communities have now got to surrender the mask and come out with real love, affection. And actually, our culture is very caring. All our cultures, they're about people.
Yeah.
We're primal. We want shelter. We want food, but also we want warmth. We want company. Let's go back to that rather than egoistic, pointing fingers, do this, do. Let's stop imposing really hideous things on. Oh, you must get married before 30. My son goes, yeah, it might be in your days, Dad. I'm going. So we have to change. We have to adapt to different. But what I'm saying, this unnecessary pressure. Life is there to be lived. And if you keep imposing things on it, you're going to get ill yourself. Because I know two parents whose daughters, one is 35, one is 45. They're not married and they're stressed. I see them once a week when I play tennis. They're always on about, have you seen any? Do you know anybody? So I sat him down and said, look, why are you stressing over this? Life is life. Let it live. If she got married tomorrow and she gets a divorce 3 years later, would you be happier? Yeah, but you're wishing negative things. I said, no, I'm just telling you there's a possibility. If you force things, this might happen.
Do you know what? There's two things there. I think number one is like, and I see parents do this a lot. I meet a lot of parents, by the way, for the youth work that I do. And I see parents do this a lot.
You
they
did
attach
look young.
conditions.
I didn't think you were a parent.
Huh?
You do look young. I didn't think you were a parent.
Exactly. Listen, I do have kids though.
Now the mystery deepens.
And I'm joking, I don't. But I'll tell you about it after. But anyways, I don't have kids, just to be clear. But yeah,
But
so
you behave like a kid sometimes.
exactly.
I do as well.
I got myself.
Let's stop being childish.
But yeah, so there is this thing of like where parents attach conditions to their happiness, right, with the kids. So meaning, so like in the scenario you're saying, like their happiness was like, once my daughters get married, I'm gonna be happy because they're settled. And when they're not meeting that, they're stressing out about it. But there's also this thing of like recognizing, and I think parents need to recognize sometimes people got their own journey, and the whole thing of like, you know, societal concepts of like people need to be married by 30, or they need to have kids by that point, or they need to have this by that point. But there is the element of people have a different journey in life, especially, I think I'd say especially within London or UK in general, or other parts of, because there are other parts of the world that are a bit more traditional. Some parts are more like westernized, and people are a bit more, they have a bit more freedom of who they can be. And there's all these interesting concepts and sort of things that play part of, you know, of shaping that.
I think, you know, like you're saying, the community shapes you. Initially it does. But, you know, I've grown into a different shape and escaped.
Mm.
The reason why I'm saying that, because I remember I was reprimanded at the age of 14 because there was a priest and I didn't touch his feet. That was like a gesture of acknowledgement. Yeah. The reason why I didn't touch his feet, I didn't tell my dad that time, but I told my brother that when I came into the temple, I heard him shouting at the workers. I mean, obscenities. And then an hour later, he's up there getting all this, you know, I'm a priest, I'm a good man. He wasn't. So that's why I refused to. And I couldn't tell that to my dad. I upset my dad. But I couldn't like touch his because he was a bad person.
Mm.
But that's, again, it's up to you.
I love the fact that you've done that. And I think,
but I was only 14, but people were shouting at me this, but I walked out.
I know, but the age doesn't matter. I think, and this is what I want to recognize. And I think this is where the world is kind of going away from. I think people's integrity and people's values, people will compromise their integrity and values to get somewhere in life. And I think for me, that's a really tough thing to sit with, because I find it difficult to sometimes go, you know what, I'm going to suck it up and compromise my values and my integrity just to get to a place. I can't do that. I find it really difficult.
What I did do with by those inactions, I opened up the whole debate about priesthood, about their behavior. And I said, Dad, what's that got to do with the ceremony? The ceremony should go on. It shouldn't be about me touching his feet or not. I want you to see the bigger picture. No, this disrespectful. I mean, I told my brother didn't tell him because we didn't want commotion. But you need somebody to shake the ropes to make the community more fluid, more understanding, and I think more dynamic, because we're just stuck in some bloody loop. You know, we can't get out. We're like blinded by nonsense. There's no, equilibrium. You can't say, why not? Why not open the debate? Let's talk.
Let's have that conversation.
Well, I'm not angry. I was at the time. I'm not angry. I'm older now. But even now, when I talk to my children, my peers, I do listen, but I do debate and say, look, there is another possibility. Like typical, when I used to go to weddings and I didn't drink, so I was called a lightweight. I was called tight. I was called all these things, like I was very non-conforming, and I wasn't a Punjabi. And one of them said to me, like, how can you come here and not drink? I said, well, I didn't know it was a condition. I said, how can you come here and still breathe? He goes, what are you talking about? I said, I just equalize what you just said. Why don't you come here and not breathe? He didn't get it, so I had to explain to him, but he got angry. And then I had to leave because it got ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I think you have to challenge. And if you don't challenge, you're going to stay in that little, what do they call it, rabbit hole. You're just going in and back. But if you explore, look around, there are other possibilities.
Yeah.
But the thing is, our communities, all of them, not just saying mine, yours, anybody else, we're afraid to debate new ideas and allow the children to have a say. Because most of these places of worship now, most children are going there because they're being forced. Or they're going there, there's free food. Or they're going there because afterwards there's a party. That is not the reason. When my sister was getting married, this is in the 60s now, there were 10 people from the girls' side, 10 people from the boys, and they went into a hall, and that was it. But what I loved was the week before was a build-up to the wedding. and they talked about the virtues of getting married, the good and the bad points, and also they, when you go around the fire, and I was wondering why was it odd number they went around. So I remember asking a long time ago, and they told me, but I just remembered it recently. The reason why you start off with one position, and then when you go around unevenly, guess what happens? What do you join together? It's the hearts. So you're one. So I realized that recently, but somebody did tell me, but there are good virtues to it as well. If you really want to go into the ceremonies, it's about being one.
Yeah.
And again, these things aren't being, we're talked about. I remember my niece really upsetting one of my brothers when I asked her, I said, so who are the two most important people, in the wedding? She goes, that's easy. I said, who? She goes, the video guy and the photographer. And I just couldn't believe she said that, but she genuinely meant it because she's been like, this in the euphoria is about the glitz and glamour.
I think that's quite rare. I think most people wouldn't say that though.
You'll be surprised how many people do.
Seriously?
I was shocked because my niece is quite level-headed, really intelligent woman, but it's the euphoria of the wedding that, I mean, I don't know, but there's like videos going off. There's the laser lights. There's the guy on the horse, and there's a band. And I actually write about this, but the true meaning of the marriage are just secondary. The people who made it happen, they're just secondary. They're just so what?
It's almost like it's an experience for someone to be part of.
But no, it's a glamour and glitz that taken over the original ceremony.
The status and the hype.
It.
Yeah.
So it's the same.
It's interesting.
So now we're going to do it better than them. And that's media hype. And, you commercialize a religious ceremony by putting all these additives on the side of it.
I think, and I think for me, like, I was going to say if I get married or maybe when I get married, whichever one it is fine. I haven't decided yet. But I think for me, it's going to be a thing of like, it's going to have to be somewhere remote, not many people, not for other people. It has to be for us. It has to be a ceremony. It's about the process, right? It's about appreciating the process. And I think that's what I like about it. I think the ceremony in itself is beautiful as long as it's not done for that glamour, for the status, and as long as it's done for the right reason.
Yeah, then you'll be probably the odd one out because they'll stress more about the venue, the DJ, the laser lights.
I don't give a shit about all of that. I want to be on a cliff somewhere.
Yeah, but that's you. Yeah. You're a minority. Most of the time, the parents, I'm talking about Asian parents here, they'll be more worried about the hall size. Will there be enough alcohol? Will there be enough food? Is the food upset? I mean, all these things.
You care about all of these things.
No, but I'm just saying reality of where we are now.
Oh, no, I agree with you. So that's what I'm saying.
In 30 years' time, we might even not be having this conversation because it might be just 3 people at the wedding. That's it.
People will be getting married on the internet, on a video call.
Could be cyber,
Cyber.
Yeah, you might be married to somebody in space.
I'll be getting married with an AI robot.
Having a...
with an AI machine.
Yeah.
I fell in love with an AI machine. Sent me a message one morning.
But this, now we're onto this, the new technology. Was it Chat
GPT.
Yeah, I mean...
Incredible stuff, though.
I tell you what, really, it really like phases me because my original degree is in computer studies in the 80s. And when I was studying it, these things were just like,
far off.
They were like high and pie in the sky. And you didn't think that these things were going to be reality. Mm-hmm. So I remember studying this system. It's called mycin. So I used to go into the deserts and dig deep, find out if there's a possibility of oil. No, it's a formality. You can dig right into the bloody gut. They'll tell you where it is.
Yeah.
But that was just but now you got robots doing things, thinking things. It's scary. I think this Terminator thing is here soon.
I love it. I think I'm also part of the minority that's excited about it. I think there is this whole like I'm also very like conscious of like how maybe like robots or machines or AI has been like maybe have has been painted in a society. So meaning like through movies, through like stories.
Yeah, but it's reality now because I'm just telling you when I was studying.
No, I get it, but I'm just saying there's a negative. So there's a lot of negative connotation around what it means.
I think it's right.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, these machines, somebody operates them, can do what they bloody like. If somebody else is in charge, it's not the machine.
So there is this one interesting thing, right? Oh yeah, I see what you're saying with that. Also, you know what? This is an interesting conversation actually. Let's get into this real quick. At what point did you become conscious?
Right. So you got the subconscious and the conscious mind. Now,
Yeah, but do you, in terms of your life, at what point did you become conscious?
I think it was when you grow up. When your phases of your life.
But do you remember your first conscious moment?
Yeah, it's an inciting moment. I call it, because it was a long time ago, but I actually had a disagreement with my brother over a poster. I had this Michael Jackson poster up on the wall, and he wanted me to take it off because he thought it was offensive to have, because he was racist. And that, for me, I was like, what the hell is going on? I'm a 14-year-old kid. I want that up. So we had a ruck. And I became conscious of this ain't going to happen again, because I had a nosebleed. And my dad wanted to sort it out, but he insisted it comes down as well. But then I realized, what the hell's going on? Joe's is my mate, and I can't even put a poster up of a Michael. What's going on here? That's when I became conscious. But it's an inciting moment or incident. I don't know. That's for me personally.
Yeah.
It might be different for other people.
Yeah, but you had a consciousness before that, because what I'm really trying to get to is at what point do we become conscious of ourselves? So like, when do we develop consciousness? Because the reason I'm saying this, so just to give a bit of a context, the reason I'm saying is because there's a conversation around ChatGPT, which is that people saying it's a language model program machine that people are programming, and it has no consciousness and all of that stuff. But then people are having conversations with it. And I'm thinking, like, so how did I become conscious? Like, I became conscious through observing, like having conversations, learning from other people. Was I conscious before that? And I'm like, maybe that's like, how does something become conscious? Can a machine become conscious through having the same process?
Right. From about conscious, becoming conscious, it's just a journey. Like I became conscious because it was an inciting moment, and I actually thought I started thinking for myself, and I started believing in certain things. That's when I began. But when you're a child, you can't just say here is a moment you become conscious. It's a developing process, and it evolves through you. But there's an inciting moment which you realize you're at that stage. And for me, it was just that point. But it might be different for everybody. So it's not a given when you're conscious. Somebody could become conscious when they're 50. Because they've had all that shit in their life. They might, oh shit, I've done wrong. Wake up. So you can't impose a time limit. It's your development, and it's also your realization. I mean, I don't know if you want to go primal now, like Harry Maslow, the hierarchy of needs. Now we're going real basic. So you start off with, survival, shelter, and all that. And then you come right at the top is self-esteem. But for me, there's one beyond that, which is, for me, conscious, is after self-actualization is self-spiritualization, where basically in our religion, we believe that a person becomes one when their ego and their mind become one. And Sachin talks about, being, that's when the being is together. You're transparent outside, inside, the whole thing is just one. But it's getting that ego and the mind together. So the ego and the heart together. So the heart and the mind coming together, that's when you got a proper concept. But there could be a little gap there as well. So there could be a gap between the heart and the mind, the soul, whatever you want to call it. Is when the ego and the soul become one. That's when you're real conscious, when you're 100% there. That's in our religion. I mean, I don't know, it might be different for other religions.
So for me, I think for me that started with I've had this like question, or just the question around, do I think about my thinking? And I think that's what created, like, I became aware of, like, actually there's something like there's my being and there's my thinking. And I realized they're two separate things, because when I started observing my thinking and understanding what my thinking is, I was actually, my thinking it's more like a process that just happens in the background, or it's automatic. And when I started observing, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I'm in charge, but the thinking is just there as a process.
Okay, for me, I understand what you're saying now. For me, the conscious mind evolves when that mask to comply, behave in a certain way is gone. And you become yourself. For me, that's when the guise and the disguise is gone. That's when you become real. That's when you become interactive, impulsive. But you have a belief within yourself. You're an ethos. You have the building blocks of your persona are ready to impose on yourself, not on others. Are you going to be good? Yes. Are you going to be fair with everyone? Yes. Have you got sympathy with this guy, empathy with that guy. That's when you feeling you're conscious. Now, if you're going to put that guise on, be cold and callous, oh, he's dead, let's move on. You know, it's up to you, but it's when you realize that you are there, you're feeling it. Oh, I got a thought. Thought is not feeling, is not being there. Thought is just a little concept here. You can get rid of it and do what you like in life.
Yeah.
So again, it's when that thought becomes you. You're there, you're living, you're conscious of it, everything that you do, rather than subliminally, oh, he's crap. You're not, you're processing it. And you're beginning to be saying less, meaning more. That's when I think I became conscious, because I started not evaluating. I started like doing things differently, because as you grow up, you have a database of all your experiences, and that changes you. So you become more conscious because of the things you've done. But that's just a journey. I don't think you can become conscious like that. It's the journey you've been through. And have you got enough in the armory to become conscious? Because you need experience. You need a life.
Experiences, yeah.
So you can't just say, when did you be? It's different for different people.
And
That's
like,
what I
it's
think.
physical experience, mental experience, and the experience conversation is really interesting, because you are an experience. Like you yourself, you're an experience. Like you know, you provide an experience, and it's like things that we eat are experiences. Things that we sit on. Everything's an experience. It kind of sums up into this one big experience that's made up of.
I think,
these
like,
little...
for me, when I was growing up, again coming back to my friends, one of them told me that life is an experiment. Make sure you bloody participate
It's an
in
experiment.
it. And one of them said that guy, this is like, we're going deep now, that guy is not, it's in the experiment, but he's not really. I said, what do you mean? He goes, he's a catalyst. I said, what do you mean? He goes, he's involved in the reaction, but not really. I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, he's not living it. So we're going technical now. So a catalyst is a thing that gets involved in, basically it facilitates a reaction. It's a surface area. So he's providing an experience for other people, but he's not living it himself. And it was deep when we were discussing this at college a long time ago. We had about, I think, 7 or 8 of us in the digs. We just talking, and it comes back to that now. That they're talking about life is an experiment. And they said that guy is a cat, because he's just on the outskirts. He's quiet, doesn't say much, just doesn't really participate, a bit numb. And all. So we compared him to a catalyst. He's with us in the room. He's saying Jack. Not really involved, withdrawn. I mean, but he might have had a bad experience, might have had a trauma. We don't know. We're judging. So you can take it philosophically up to where you want. But I think end of the day, you've got to be happy within yourself.
This was my lab moment in this conversation.
Sorry?
The catalyst thing. That was my lab moment.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know if it meant anything, but I'm just going back to a long time ago.
No, it connected to something. It's for me internally. It's connected. It connected to something that I was thinking about from maybe like a year ago, and it just helped me realize something, which is nice. I was gonna ask you, and actually don't know what I was gonna ask you, but one of the things I wanted to ask you, so far in your life, what are the 2 most important or / most valued things that you've learned? And you can take your time on this if you want.
We're coming back to what I said to Aladdin earlier, that I wanted to give something back to the community. And one of the things I wanted to give back was I want to put weight on personal development. I mean, I'm learning at a very late age, I thought, but I had moments before, but I was always like dipping in, but not fully doing it, because I was conscious of other people judging me all the time. So I used to do things, but not in front of the family. I used to do, but now I'm doing it in front of the whole audience. It's me, it's who I am. Take it or shake it, Sachin says. So I'm basically doing what I want when I want, and I don't give a damn, because if somebody's got an issue with that, that's their problem. So what I want to talk about personal development was, I want to make a day, one day, this is my dream for the communities, all communities, is to have a people or person day, which is not commercialized, which is sedated in the sense that we just shut up and appreciate a persona in the house. We go through the personas and just ask them what their aspirations are, what do they want from life, and not be judgmental. Just talk, a nice conversation, but also appreciating an individual for his flaws, for his imperfections, but for who he or she is. And then loving that moment. If we can just infuse a little bit of that once a year, I'll be happy. Because for me, that is breaking a lot of barriers, dropping the judgment, realizing, oh, there's a nice guy here. He may be shy, but he likes to do this. There's something unique about him. We can learn from that. Look how he is with the kids. Just appreciating a person one at a time in the family, just sitting down. Forget the food, forget the drink. Let's put those in the back burner. Let's talk about real things, real feelings,
real conversation,
and also real beings. And why? And my guy say, look, and then having not a goal, having something of value to the community, like, Mum, drop the judgment on me for a day. Can you stop talking about marriage? I know I'm 32 years old. Might be a request, but it might be the biggest thing to break that family into a better space, better place. If we can get some conversation, I'd be down. I'd be really happy, because I found when I'm growing up in an Asian family, we rarely talk about things that matter. We're always conforming. We're always forming. We're always evolving, dissolving. We never actually talk about who we want to be, what our real issues are. And we're never made autonomous. We can't think. We always, do this, do that. We're always influenced. But we shouldn't be.
For some reason, real things are scary.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's the society that makes us scary, because we're not facilitating.
Because it's not happening enough. Yeah.
And people
are not familiar with that experience. So it's so alien that it's uncomfortable. Yeah.
I think we need to address that now. I mean, we were talking about earlier, drink in Punjabi communities. There's big issues, but we never talk about it. We've got another issue. Women who are divorced, Asian women, are unlikely to get married again because of the stigma. But if it's a man, like that. Why is that? It's our thinking. Why are there less women in politics? Why are there less women in business? Because the men are made it that way. Have they? I don't know. Let's debate it. All I want is a more equal, caring society, and that's the hardest, because the problem is the selfish few are controlling us and dictating us. If we can, this is all about globalization, etc. Okay, globalization for who? Who's it benefiting? Really, the conglomerates, the big business people? Is it the individual? No. A little individual, Mr. Corner Shop, is going by the wayside now. We're not getting a personal service. The guy knew everything about grocery. You can talk about fruit about 10 days. Go to Tesco, they don't know anything about it. They don't even know if it's in season. So I'm saying the individually has been eroded away. I'm talking about the same for families. There's a personality, an old woman sitting in the chair. She's an old woman. Talk to her.
Do you know what I love about what you're saying? And for me, this is the theme I'm taking away from it. And this is what I'm about as well in life. It's about having a meaningful, authentic conversation about a particular thing. And I think people are not brave enough sometimes to do that. And again, that goes back to how maybe, we've been conditioned in a society, what's cool to talk about. But I find it really interesting, in my workplace, sometimes, I'm there and I'm trying to have that real conversation with people. And people have this way, they've got these little shields that they can use. The shield would be, it's not appropriate, or it's not legal to talk about this. They can't talk about this because of that reason or this reason. But they use these societal construct or ways businesses are constructed, and to use that for the reason why we can't have that conversation. And I think that's.
I'm going to give you two really good examples of explosive things happening to me. One was in the office, how I made things so. Normally I used to have one-to-ones in the office. Then some life coach told me, I don't know who he is, told me why are you having them there? Why don't you get out and give them a proper one-to-one? I said, what are you talking about? Don't talk to me like that. But anyway, we won't mention his name.
Yeah.
So he said to me, why don't you have it in an environment where there's no interruption, you get proper connection, and it means something. So what I started doing with my staff is going away from the bed, leaving the phones, having the 1 hour, quality 1 hour, and I can't tell you the difference it's made to my staff. It's phenomenal. They're bouncing around. We're bouncing. We're doing well in business. We're enjoying it. I only made it a slight tweak. It was not. I mean, I didn't think anything of it, but the results phenomenal.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And another thing, he said, "Oh well, are you doing anything for the staff?" I said, "Yeah, I always look after." He goes, "No, do you do anything on their birthdays?" And obviously, there's silence. He goes, "Right, do something." So what I did on this last person at his birthday, he likes bread, but he hasn't tasted the certain bread. So I bought him certain bread, certain cheese that I like, and certain stuff that I think he would like. So I said, don't let him go to lunch. So what we did was he went to lunch and then they closed the door. So he couldn't open the door. They licked his keys. Right? So he's going, what's it? He's getting frustrated. And then I walk in with the loaf of bread and all the other stuff, and we sit down, we have lunch together.
Beautiful.
And it was brilliant. But the guy was nearly in tears that somebody did that on his birthday. But it was nothing. It didn't cost me 30, 40 quid. But the whole staff enjoyed it. Different experience. And he's just eternally grateful that I did that. I recognized him because he's been with me 15 years.
It's that human connection and that level of care.
But I didn't think it would mean anything.
But that's the thing. But he might not get it anywhere else. And this is.
Now you're talking like somebody I know.
Yeah.
He said, "Dad, nobody experiences the different experiences. If his wife did, it would have been different. If you did that, it'd be different."
No.
So it's how he takes it. So now I'm going to do that for all the staff. So little things. And the other thing I was talking about, something really big. In a commercialized world, it's just to cut off from it. I will tell you what I do now. Again, somebody told me to do this, but I keep mentioning him. But when I'm watching TV,
something I called Satchin.
I don't know. Hitching. I've been there. So what happened was now when we watch TV, guess what we do when the adverts come on? We mute it. So each time there's an ad, we mute and we just talk. We have a little 5 minutes we're talking, this back on. But guess what? It's broken. The side and all that noise and it's gone. But we're having a little meaningful conversation in 5 minutes.
It's better than the advert.
Yeah, we just muted it.
Yeah, no, we're saying the conversation's better than the advert. Yeah.
But it's really mine. But it really helped me and my wife. We're talking.
I'm surprised you still watch TV.
I do watch TV, but I watch like crazy things.
I know, but that's the thing. But you have access. Like I think now,
I read books as well.
Yeah,
so,
but no, but as in like now with the internet, you can watch whatever you want. You don't have to actually watch the television itself to go through the advert.
Yeah, the thing is the TV, the big screen. I mean, can't beat that experience on a small screen. But I mean, we won't go into that. But I like certain things because I'm still writing and I'm sitting getting ideas. So I always watch movies and I always make notes as well. But I stopped doing that because the missus, we made a pact that I'll do a few things that she wants and a few that so I now don't do it in front of her. So little things are improving us.
No, that's beautiful.
Just little things that we want to do. So again, coming back to this, the other thing I want to give is what I had experience from when Sachin held his intensive. I met this couple. I thought they were a young couple anyway. Found out that they were in their late 40s. But they were so nice together, so complimentary, so loving, and this understanding they had. So I had to talk to them. I said, "Oh, what's going on here?" They go, "We'll talk to you at lunchtime." So I went with them. And I said, "How do you get this? You're like friends and you're like, husband and wife, and the next minute you're different, but you're still, complementing each other and how you go about it. There's a fluidity, a dynamics to you, which I haven't seen in a couple." They said a long time ago, I think it was about 20 odd years ago, they met somebody at holiday and they were celebrating their 60th birthday. So they thought they'd just have a little chat with them. And the guy, they said, how do you see, what's the secret? He said, every year, everybody listening, all the couples, every year they sit opposite each other, look each other in the eye, hold hands and say, "Tell me the 5 things you like about me and 5 things that you want to improve about me." Not necessarily dislike, but it is in a disguised way. So one of the things my wife doesn't like is when she's driving, me directing her. "Oh, go this way," and also putting the different radio stations on. So now I shut up and I sit in the back. But it's improved my...
So you're basically getting an Uber.
No, but what I'm saying is
I'm joking.
It helps because now there's no argument and nothing. And we're not arguing over stations. So when I drive, I do... She does the same.
Do you want to go? So, couple like couple of sheets ago we spoke about and this is like a concept I'm running with now in life in general. Like I call them unwritten rules. So people have unwritten rules. So that was her unwritten rules, but she's communicated them.
Yeah.
And the reason they're unwritten rules is because that it's the rules that we can't see or we don't know about. And unless they're communicated, we won't know. We don't know what to do.
I mean, it's so simple. The other things, I mean, like, very simple. Like she used to put on my chapati. I like a lot of butter on it, right? And she always argue. And I asked her, I said, "Why do you argue with me?" She goes, "Because it's butter and it's not healthy. I love you, and that's why I'm bloody saying it. Why you keep arguing?" I said, "Next time, don't do it." I didn't know. We just talked about it. So now I don't have butter on my bloody chapati. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's for me. She's doing it, and I'm arguing with her for no bloody reason because I like the taste. But it's a little thing I can do for her. She's elated that I'm listening to her, and it's good for my health. We wouldn't have had that had we not that conversation.
And you know what? And I think what are highlights for me, and I've told this day, there's people in relationships that have these unwritten rules and they don't know about each other's unwritten rules and they're living with each other and there's these arguments, there's this, there's that. But if they had a conversation and actually sat down, made some space, some nice space and spoke about particular things, and it's that going back to the conversation thing.
I wouldn't have done it had I not bloody been on that intensive. But again, I thought I knew everything, but again,
the life coach. That's beautiful. It's like, you know.
But it made me happy. And I bought my wife flowers. She goes, "What the hell's going on?" I said, "I love you." And she's so happy.
But it's also that I think there's the element of like, it said you're becoming more open-minded. I think if you didn't have that and you wasn't on that journey, you could have easily just ignored most of the things that, this life coach called Sachin said.
To be fair, I did ignore him most of the time at the beginning, but then little bits I secretly tried out.
And I was like, "Oh shit, I kind of yeah." Because
I'm a bit skeptical about this, and I thought it was airy fairy, like the way I've been brought up, but it's not. It's not. You got to be expressive, and you got to be yourself. And if you want to evolve that yourself, being and all this, it's about you and your preferences. It's about you experimenting. It's about you evolving. If you want to be on that journey, go for it. If you're going to be scared, you're going to be on this side and that side, or take sides. You're not yourself.
Yeah.
So this being business is the conscious coming through. Like my dad, what you saw is what you got. At home, he was the same. In the business, he was the same. He was generous everywhere, not just in. And I used to think, how the hell does he do it? Because at work, I used to get stressed out. And at home, I used to make jokes, have fun. But now I'm doing it in both. I'm the same person. People are warming up to it more than I thought. They just can't believe that I'm open to things and discussing. Even somebody came in, they got a few issues. And I just suggested, I said, sit down and talk. You're going to have an issue, but sit down and talk. Is it the best thing for you guys? Sit down and talk about it. I wouldn't have said that before because I've been too afraid. Who am I? Somebody else's personal life. But if I've got some experience, I can help them. Why not?
Yeah.
So now I'm evolving again because it's up to you to have that conversation if you're comfortable. Some people I won't be.
I love that. And if you don't mind me saying your age on the shows, or you're 58, and I already said it.
68.
So whether you mind or not, it doesn't matter no more. I said
68,
it. Anyway.
But don't tell me.
No, you're 58. But I think what's beautiful for me and what's really inspiring is that, you're making some of those changes at this age. Obviously, you've been making some of them beforehand, but like hearing a 58-year-old say, "I'm making this change and that change, and this is working, this is beautiful," and I'm just like, this is actually incredible, because I don't actually meet a lot of people that age that are like, like very open-minded and.
You're not going to believe this, neither have I, because our community is shut to this kind of nonsense, they call it. They call it airy-fairy nonsense, and why are you doing that? Haven't you got anything better to do? I mean, is it their business? Reflect back on it. So, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean it's not going to work for me.
But they've been conditioned to believe that.
Yeah, that's
not even the truth.
This is where I feel enlightened and also different, but I have this fragrance of life now because I never had before, because my receptors are open.
Fragrance of life. I love that.
And seriously, the receptors that you got in your body, they're just been re-energized because I'm doing. If you said to me 7 years ago that I'd be playing for a football club over 50s, I'd be playing for a tennis club, competitively. I'll be playing badminton. I'll be going abroad to play these games. I'll be script writing, and I'll be writing poetry. People would have laughed in your face, and I'm doing them.
Yeah.
So, but I've actually like opened up, a little bit of the curtain. And now I've opened it wide. All the light is coming through, and I can see things that I never, because I was limited. That's how I can describe it in that way. Now it's open. I mean, the whole world is there. But it's up to you to interact with it. But if you're going to go down the other route, what would he think? What would they? Half your life is bloody gone.
Yeah.
Listening to bullshit.
To loads of bullshit. Look, it's been a very insightful conversation. Like I'm listening to you. I'm learning a lot while listening to you as well. So hopefully maybe outside of this we can catch up at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
And have more conversations. Just to start wrapping it up. We usually like to check out with like 2 things in particular. Actually, it's kind of like
I can't rap.
Well, you want to rap?
Yeah.
Oh, you said you got.
I've actually got a rap.
Do you want to do it, or do you want to do it after?
I can do it after.
Yeah, it's up to you.
I'll do it after.
If you want to do it on camera, you can.
I got a little rap about killing me softly with fast food.
So we'll do that after. So just to check out. So we break it down into 2 parts. Sorry, we've got 2 questions, but one is broken down into 2 parts. So it's kind of like 3. I know I'm just over explaining stuff. So the first thing is anything you like to promote. So anything you like to promote in 2 parts. One is something that doesn't belong to you. So it can be anything. It can be a book, can be a movie, can be a person, can be a course, can be whatever it is. Something that doesn't belong to you. And the second one is something that does belong to you if you want to promote anything within that space.
Just 2 simple things.
Yeah.
First, things that don't belong to me. Anybody who's got parents, right? I don't care, good or bad. I've lost both my parents. I miss them dearly. Every day, those people got you included. Just hug them, appreciate them, resonate with them, do something with them before it's too late. That's outside. Inside, love yourself first. I found this very alien for Asians. Love yourself. What's he talking about? Loving yourself doesn't mean that, you start hugging yourself. It's loving your persona, being a good person, and also reflecting that joy of being independent, and also like gleeful and joyous when people do good things. You're there, you're enjoying the moment. Tell them. Also, if you like a person, tell them.
Let them know.
Don't do the other. If somebody's toxic, just move away. And you have to cut that umbilical cord. I've had to do it with family as well. A few people are nasty to me and my family. I cut them off. And I'm better for it. But be brave for your family and for yourself first. So we discussed it earlier, Aladdin, about those three people you got to look after first. Me, myself, and I. If me, myself, and I can be happy, it can bring a ray of sunshine to all the world. Because if you're happy, you portray that. And I'm doing this at work, I'm more fulfilled, but people I know, random people are coming and hugging me, which I never thought would happen. Why is that? And my son's just explained it to me. He goes, you're giving those vibes out. That's what's happening. And I was thinking, they're weird people. No, it's not weird people. You're loving yourself and you're promoting that glow, that friendliness, that banter, that joyfulness, that interaction, and appreciation of people. If you can give that, a lot of things will come back. So that's the 2 things. Sorry, it's complicated.
No, it's not complicated. I love that. I love listening to it. And I think with the whole like putting out the vibes, I think it starts internally, right? It's like once because I feel like I can connect to that. I feel like when I'm looking at myself in a particular type of way, or I am feeling a type of way, then people connect with that as well. It's really, really interesting. It's because I was thinking a lot about like how do we measure energy, or how is it measurable? And I think it starts with internal measurements, and then how that connects with other things, anyways. But yeah,
you could say, look, you got an internal energy. It's how that energy is radiating. If you're going to keep that energy within yourself, it could be toxic. That's like being egoistic. Me. You can have the other one. I'm a good person. I want to radiate that. I want to help. So there's a different radiation energy, but you can keep it internal, become big and self-centered and egoistic.
Yeah.
It's a different. So you
But
got
but what about internal as well? Like it starts internally.
yeah.
Like it doesn't come from somewhere else. It starts internally, then it
Well, it
emits
has
from
to
there.
come from someone else because if you're in a toxic environment, you need to get out.
Mm.
Do you understand? So you got to make that choice. Again, we're talking about conscious. So it can't be that universal what you're saying. Oh, it comes from you might get bad energy. You got to deflect it.
Mm.
And this is what I wasn't doing. I was letting the bad energy because they were successful. They were like gods. They're not.
Mm.
An early age, I realized that my friends meant everything to me because they were there for me when it mattered. And I only realized when I was growing up that when I was down, I knew who was there for me and they became my real friends.
Mm.
So it's the experience of life. When you're down and out and people come for you, that is true friendship.
Yeah.
When you're joyous, you got all the family around and you're doing a celebration, everybody's going to be nice to you.
Yeah. So you're there for the lows, and then those are the true friends.
But
Not.
the real friends are when you're in low, when you're in the deep shit, when you're down and out. That's when friendship counts. That's when they can come back and pick you up when you're down. Those are the most. And sometimes you gotta call out. They ain't gonna just come. They're not telepathic. Tell them you're down.
Mm.
Let's see how they react. If they don't, then don't be ashamed.
Yeah.
One man calling out is not a cry. It's friendship. That I'm calling for friendship. I'm not crying wolf. There are people who cry wolf, but you got to distinguish between them.
Yeah.
And you'll know who's
Yeah.
genuine or not.
Definitely. And the last thing I wanted to ask you is, when you get a chance to say something to the whole world, what would you tell them?
The world is a big place. All I can say is just be grateful you're alive every day and you're here on this earth for a short time. Try to make it peaceful, tranquil, and happy.
Mm.
What else you can't take it with you, but the experiences. When they say when you're gonna die, life flashes before you. Make sure you have good flashbacks and not regrettable ones. That's it.
Love that. Yeah, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, pleasure.